First of all, I want to thank all of you guys for jumping on today. I know this week has been jam-packed for the enablement community between our Toronto Hackathon, Sales Enablement Collective, PRO, SES is doing a bunch of stuff. It's just crazy. Like, end of the year, just wrap it all up for enablement. So super excited with this. My name is Matt Scheidel. You'll see on my screen, it's actually Matt Schalze now. I am the co-founder of the Enablement Squad, along with Stephanie Midda, who I don't think is on this call today, but that's all right. We are going to go ahead and do a hiring workshop. This is something actually I wanted to get done a while ago. With my trip at my former company, I had to postpone it. And then I came back and now I'm in the same boat as many of you, open for work. Where do I go next? How do I go ahead and develop this? So I was actually kind of like laying in bed the other night thinking about this, like how ironic is it that I wanted to help other people try to find a job, but yet I want to find a job. So now I'm competing in the same arena as a lot of you. So how does that work? It doesn't matter. We're all amazing peers. We're all amazing colleagues. We all want to work together and help enable you. And I thought to myself, I would much rather see all of you guys succeed and get the community and connections from everybody else. And that's why we're going to continue to do this today. So we're going to jump in for today's agenda. We're going to go ahead and do a couple intros. Dave Lickman here from Enablematch. I was about to butcher that. Sorry. Is going to talk to us about what the market needs and what the market wants. We're going to do some resume building and LinkedIn must-haves with Brent. Building your brand with Stephanie White and myself. We're going to do some round robin breakout rooms so that way you guys can ask your peers kind of what's going on. What are they thinking? What are they seeing in the market? Kind of just asking those questions and connect with other enablers. And then we're going to have Stephanie Z. I will never try to pronounce her last name as many times as Stephanie White has told me. She's going to talk to us about a couple different, where do you find these job postings? How do you navigate this? Where tips and tricks of how to work through that? So we can definitely go through all of those. And then I even have a little community trick tip that I'm going to show you guys at the very end on how to actually progress your guys' deals and keep track of the sanity when we're submitting ungodly amount of applications. So with that, let's go ahead and meet our panels. Dave Lickman, you want to kick us off?
Sure. I know a lot of folks on the call, but 4 years ago, last month, I started Enablement. I saw this need for a recruiting firm for sales enablement people, and I started it then, and it's been the best 4 years of my professional life. I have the best job out there because I work with so many great people like the folks on this call. We can talk about Taylor Swift and weird things and be friends. It's such a tight community. So I have the best job in the world, and that's what I do.
I love that. And I will tell you, if you're open for work and you need a job, and if Dave doesn't have a job, Dave has an abundance of advice to help you get that job. So Dave is a great resource. I encourage you guys to reach out to Dave. Stephanie White, you are up next.
And I feel like on this call, I get to be the Steph with the easy last name. So I will take it. One of three Stephs often on these phone calls. I recognize a lot of the names, and I know some of you we've been messaging. It's awesome to see you on here. I have only kind of recently in the last, let's call it 6 months, started to think more about my personal brand publicly and how I show up outside of, the hard work and hours I put in on the job I have today, trying to do more connection to the community. So I know some of us on this call have already had some one-on-one coffees and that, but very excited to be here, help support and answer any questions I can to help give each of you a wider voice as well.
Awesome. Thank you. And to the man that I have not yet ever met, had a call with, or anything, and come to find out today, we're not even connected on LinkedIn, Mr. Brent.
Dude, I know. I'm so like, I feel really bad about that.
Mutual, man. Mutual.
Yeah. I'm great. I was thinking about what you were just saying, and it was so perfect timing. Like, I remember the first Slack message, like, hey, you're thinking about doing this hire thing. And I had messaged Stephanie and was like, I want to do this hiring thing. And she was like, Matt just messaged me about that. So such good timing. So Brent Beckman, the O is there just to mess with you. Like most of our crazy last names, been doing this for a long time. Happy to be here and see if I can help you guys get where you want to be and make things better.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brent. And our fourth panelist is Stephanie is going to be just a tad bit late, so she will introduce herself later on the end. But I will tell you, between Stephanie White and Stephanie Z, they have been the forefront of enablement hiring on LinkedIn. If you're not following either one of them, you need to connect with them right now. Stephanie White is doing some personalization to get your name out there, and we'll cover that. And then Stephanie Z is taking time out of her precious day and time and family to go ahead and do the job search for us. So we'll cover all of that on a later slide, but without further ado, Dave, will you take it away with the market needs and market wants?
Yeah. Where to begin? I feel like, you know, we've all been awake enough the past, 9 months to watch things change dramatically. And really, I feel like the state of the union is, it's still a very tricky time right now. And coming off the heels of 18 plus months of crazy growth of, you know, dozens of in-mails per month to you, I come to my company, that fell off a cliff. And we're still in that place now. And so it's still very much an interesting time. And so, you know, for those of you who have jobs, I would say hunker down and be as effective as you can in the job to stay there to weather the storm. For those of you who are looking for work, you know, it's a tricky time, and we'll talk about in a few minutes about like how to make it more likely that you get things. But what I would say is there'll be fewer jobs that are going to be out there, and it's now the hiring managers market more than the candidates market, like it was over the past couple of years. And so, but the hiring is still happening, and the people on this call might have gotten an offer today. And so I placed a candidate on Monday of this week. So it's still happening. There are jobs, but there are fewer of them, and they're trickier to get because there's now a queue of people like us around the block trying to get those jobs. And so keep that in mind, that there are there are jobs, but you have to be very prescriptive and directed in what you're going after, because you're not going to have 4 offers landing on your plate at the same time. Like that's just not what today is like. Maybe next year if things kind of turn around, but that's definitely not this year. In terms of what they're looking for, again, I'll be brief just because of the time we have here today. I think a lot of things that, given that there are so few jobs and so many people looking for the jobs, I think first and foremost, you got to bring it. Like you got to bring your A game to every job interaction, and that means doing your research. It means making sure that you're representing yourself right on all the calls, and because they really want, at this point, they're looking for people who have experience and deep experience. So if this is your time to break into enablement, it'll be really tricky, really hard, because there are people who've done the job who are in line ahead of you because they've done the job. And so they want people with experience. And even what I've been seeing a lot lately is I want people with experience in my specific industry. Like I've recently done two searches for security industry companies, and both of them were very clear. Like I want somebody with cybersecurity experience, and they were kind of unmovable on that. And so I think they're being very, very picky because they can be. So they want people who have their industry a lot of times, especially if it's more esoteric industries. And secondly, what I'm also seeing, and this was true before and it's still true now, is people want individuals who have been through their phase. So for example, if there's a startup company of say 300 people and you spent 12 years at Oracle, they're going to look at you and be like, no, they can't understand our world. We're agile, we're nimble, things move fast here, and that's this tank-like Oracle thing. Right or wrong, that's their belief. And so I think there is a recognition of, I want to find people who understand our phase. And so, and part of the reason I tell you that is if you're applying for something where you're not exactly on paper a direct fit, at least where they might not think that you are, you're going to have to address that elephant in the room. You're going to have to, if you can get in the door, talk about those differences. So I think they're wanting the same size, they want the same industry. That's a lot of what I'm seeing in terms of they're just being super picky, and it's really up to us to kind of push our way in the door. And so I'll spend a couple of minutes now, just my remaining time, and just some ideas of things that you can do. So first, follow the Stephanies. Like, just let's put that out there right now. Like they're great evangelists of people in the space. So get to know them and get on their list. If you haven't done this already, on LinkedIn, change your status to open for work. So that's a specific LinkedIn status you can change. And you probably see it on people's pictures as you scroll, but recruiters will filter by that when they're looking for candidates for jobs, because those people are more likely to respond. They're going to do that first. And so if you haven't done that, do it today. If you're still employed, people in your company, in theory, aren't able to see that you made that switch. So don't be worried about somebody's going to see this and they're going to fire me because I did this. The way LinkedIn does it, they're not supposed to be able to see that. So I would say feel free to make that change, because you want people to find you if you're looking for work. Number two, I mentioned this, Stephanie's before, but in general, leverage your network in a very meaningful way. So the CROs you've worked with in the past, or sales managers you've worked with, like leverage them and say, hey, I'm looking, because for them, you're a known entity and they might have liked your work product and your quality and your work ethic. And so I would really tap those people and say, hey, we did some good stuff in the past. I see you have an opening there. And I would definitely do that before I'm blindly applying to things on LinkedIn, because that network is warm and it'll work. And I mentioned before, like bringing the thunder, it is essential right now that every interaction is of the top quality. And when I say bring the thunder, what I mean is knowing what you've done in your past from an enablement point of view and the value you've brought to those companies. And that is essential. And what I want you all to do is have confidence and swagger in how you represent yourself. And if you're a little bit mousy and shy, whatever, you're not going to stand out, and you're not going to be the person they want to stick in front of the sales team. So I want you just to like know what you've done, the value you've brought to the companies, internalize it, and stand up straight and really bring that confidence. Because the feedback I hear from CROs is they're great on paper, but I could not put them in front of my sales team. And that's a hard thing to hear, right? Like I trust you, but not enough in front of the people. They'll rip you to shreds. I hear that feedback a lot. And so you coming into the conversations with some confidence and knowing what you've done, it carries a lot of weight. And CROs are persuaded by that. They want that chest pounding confidence and the gravitas of a senior enablement person. So definitely do that. And the other thing I would say is bring the receipts. And what I mean by that is, when I said know your accomplishments and what you've done for other companies, like talk specifics and bring the metrics. And so again, these are CROs. They think about numbers and metrics all day long. And so when you talk about what you did for your either your current company or your past companies, and how you shrunk ramp time or increased win rates, or whatever that KPI was for your programs that you were in charge of, like bring the receipts and talk about it with specificity. And nobody wants to talk about butts and seats or smiley sheets or whatever, even like, the Kirkpatrick that way evaluating success. Like that's all real. They don't want to hear it. So you got to be talking about the specifics of what you brought to the organization and the results you delivered. And if you can do that really consistently and have a few of those stories to share with them and do it with confidence, that's very compelling. It's a very compelling way to represent yourself. And so I would say do that. And the last thing I'll say is practice. And as enablement folks, we tell our sales team to practice their pitch. Well, I say, let's take that mirror and look in it and say, let's practice our pitch. So when we talk about the stories we want to tell and the accomplishments that we've done, practice telling those things. Like take out your phone and record yourself and listen to it and really get it fine-tuned, because you don't want to be doing your rough draft in front of a prospective hire. And if you have one shot and you only have one offer in your pipeline, like you better show up for it. And so I'm a big believer in practicing, send it to a friend, send it to me. It doesn't matter. Like just practice it, get some feedback, and cut out the extraneous parts and focus on the parts that are high impact of your story. And I feel like if we can, crystallize our accomplishments, know how to tell them and be mildly boastful about them, you're in a really good position. So I'll end there, and I'll be here for the whole time for questions or any other threads you want to pull on.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dave. This is amazing. Yeah, as Dave mentioned, like send your elevator pitch to people. I would gladly listen to those as well too. So throw those out if you need. We will actually, I will create a follow-up item here. We will have a elevator pitch room in the enablement squad. So you can throw your elevator pitches in there and we can have the community give you guys feedback as well too. So we'll go ahead and do that. Dave, couple questions for you on this one. Thoughts on showing the green open to work banner in your profile versus not? I've heard this can be a very big deterrent for some.
I've heard that too. I disagree. And I can tell you just from how I used it, how other recruiters use it. It is a part of how they do their search. So they're going to search for people with enablement in their title. And if you're going to get, I mean, there's a lot of us these days, right? If they get, I'll make this number, if they get 200 results and of the 200, 15 say, hey, I'm open to work now, they're going to go there first because they're more likely to respond. That's the way LinkedIn's thinking about, like, who's going to respond more readily to this outreach. And so that's their way of helping the recruiter go for the lowest hanging fruit. So I'm a big believer on that. And that's a question. By the way, I did not mention before, in your LinkedIn profile, make sure you have the word enablement peppered throughout. If your thing says training, like, find ways to stick word enablement in there, because they're doing keyword searches, and the ones with more keyword hits bubble up to the top and rank higher. And so make sure you're injecting enablement in there as much as you can.
Absolutely.
Other question, Matt.
Yeah. Sean is asking for a friend. How does he go? How does his friend go about job searches in discrete ways when he's still employed but wanting to branch out? Just so you guys are aware, Sean is not looking for a new job.
Yes. Sean, tell your friend, that's my dog. So you're going to have to use your networks as quietly as you can. There's no way around it. Don't change your banner right now, I would say, unless then more people will see it. People in your company should not see it in theory. But I would say you just got to start and just tell people this is quiet, and don't post it in the squad or post on LinkedIn. But it's more word of mouth stuff like, hey, I'm confidentially doing a search. A lot of folks, when they do this, they're doing it confidentially and quietly. So your friend's not an exception. So, and I think people generally respect that and aren't going to blast like, hey, Sean's friend is looking for a job. Like, I think people respect that these days.
Absolutely. Perfect. If you guys have any other questions, drop them down in the chat. Dave, like he said, he's going to be on for the remainder of this call, so we'll be able to do some more questions there. And yes, we will ask and you shall receive. We'll get into that. Brett, let's talk about those receipts. Dave touched on this. What receipts are we bringing into the table here?
Oh my God, I wrote that down because I was like, man, Dave and I didn't even sync on that, and that is like the first point.
Oh, it's gold. It's gold. I had to steal it too.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, let's jump in. So first things first, I just wanted to give kind of like, as a hiring manager, what I look for and like what are kind of like the big do's and don'ts, just for context, the last hire I made, I looked at 98 resumes, and the one before that, it was 154. So keep in mind, like, this is a big pile that, we're having to go through and sift through, right? And so there's very quick things that I'm looking for. Like, when I read the about you, when I look at the words that you're using, I'm trying to get a sense for who you are, right? Like your personality, your style, and that's the like ability to get after it, right? I want to see that you care. I want to see that you're in this role because you want to help people, because you want to make people better, because that drives you, design, flair, personality, like I'm all for, jokes. Like, I helped a friend, he's looking for an IT role. And I was like, you know what? Don't be afraid of putting in the, like, I have a certain set of skills that makes me a nightmare for computers and such, and he got a job like after we did that. So, like, people eat that stuff up. No box thinking is a big one for me. Like, I love people who think and act differently. I love people who have an opinion, like, I love looking at, the candidates that I'm like, okay, I want to talk to this person. And then I go look at their feed and I see, are they interacting in the community? Are they adding their opinion? Are they, active and really like, in it? And then I personally look for blind spots. I call blind spots your elevators. Me specifically, I know that there's certain things that I'm not good at. And so I look specifically for things like that. Like, for example, I'm not a logistics guy. Like, I need somebody on my team to help get everybody's lunches right. Like, the joke I always make is, if I've got 50 people in my class and I got to like do it on site, and I've got to order all their lunches, like I will mess up their lunches every single time, but they will walk out of that room loving the class. And I just try to get a sense of all of these, and how you write, how you communicate, how you present yourself, the image, like your profile picture, for example. Yeah, go ahead and click. I got a couple slides here to jump into. So there's three main pillars. I think first off, be you, right? Walk like you, talk like you, ooh, right? The little GIF there. Dating myself maybe a little bit. The point is, like, be you, like who you are, how you show up individually. It matters, right? And like the context and where you come from and how you approach things is super, super important. And I will tell you, out of those last 98 resumes that I got, I would say 80% of them were Times New Roman, all black. Like, actually, like, skip to the next slide, because I think the next one actually talks about here we are. So, like, who are you in the sense of, like, we all are content creators, right? We have to write e-learning. We have to create documentation. We have hands-on customer facing, presentations and all kinds of stuff, right? I want to know that you can think about this in like a creative design style, right? And I don't get that sense when you have a very generic, simple black and white resume. Now, there is like a balance. I do think that some of them go way over the top, and it's too much, and it makes it hard for me to read. But there's a balance, right? Just a little hint of color, like a pop. I'll show you an example. I think my last slide is just a screenshot of what my current resume looks like, and just a little bit of color can go a long way. Don't try to be somebody else. If I get a sense on the resume for one type of person, and then I interview you and I ask questions about, let's say you put some metrics in your resume, and I want to dig in on it and make sure that you know what you know, and you fumble, that's a big red flag for me. I wonder if somebody just helped you create your resume, and if that's actually like real legitimate information. Again, I can't stress this enough: passion, desire, motivation, hunger. Like, I want people on my team who want it. Like, I want people who want to make other people better, And then what you do. So this is the receipts, man. I cannot stress this enough. We all talk, SMART goals are old. Like, we all kind of get what a SMART goal is. I think of SMART goals when I'm writing the bullets for my resumes. I think about, how is it SMART? How is it measurable? How did I attain it? Like, all of the steps, right? All the way through it. Share your outcomes, share your achievements, talk about what worked, right? I'll show a slide here in a second that shows kind of an example of what that looks like. But the more examples you can give, the more credibility, the more sense I get of who you are. Like, the more I can read a resume and say, I know what I get from this person, the more likely you are to first get the interview. And then I just try to validate that information. And then from there, it's, are they passionate? Are they hungry? Do they have an opinion? Are they going to make my team better? Are they going to elevate us, And then I think so the last one is just how you do it. Be detailed, be sharp, assume the role. Like, I always say, it's almost like fake it till you make it, and like the point is, assume that you are strong enough to get this role. Like, I think a lot of people come into interviews and, you're worried and you're nervous, and I get it, right? Like, it's stressful. You're without work, or you're in a place that's not comfortable, and it's not right for you. And, it's hard, right? I get it. Take a breath, right? Show up, bring your best self in, show that you're confident in what you do. Show me the best version of you. It's really hard, because in interviews, I'm also trying to figure out, how do you communicate? Are you going to be a good facilitator in front of an audience? Are you going to be good leading a course for onboarding and set the standard for culture and tone and communicativeness of our organization? I think I got one more. It's just the example. Yeah, so I just this is literally pulled from my PDF of my current resume. So that's a profile picture for me in Maui, I think that it's one of the happiest faces I've made. So, I really like that one. You can see at the top there, I'm a passion-driven individual. I'm focused on developing great leaders. Scroll through data proven methodologies, and my passion is there. And then you can see the certifications and things. Some of them aren't even relevant, like Everyman Certified Well-Being Coach. I put that stuff because I want people to understand who I am. I want people to know this is what you get from me, right? And then you can see, there's some stats, there's some very specific things created fully functioning onboarding program that grew the sales effectiveness in 6 months, right? That grew their team effectiveness. And so it's just what did it do, right? Not that I built onboarding and I built these e-learning courses and we did this thing, but what was the outcome? What did you actually get from it? What did you provide? So yeah, other than that, I'll just add this also. I am more than happy to connect with anyone, help you with your resume, practice through, shoot it to me and I'll give you some tips and pointers. I am more than welcome to offer my time and support the community in that way.
We're going to jump right into it because I know we are trying to be time conscious for those of you that do have a very strict schedule. So let's jump into building a brand with Stephanie White and myself. So we're going to kind of tag team and bounce back off of this and kind of where we're going. Like I mentioned when I kicked this off, it was kind of funny when I started this whole idea of bringing this hiring thing to the community was I'm going to give tips and tricks because I just kind of recently went through this back from February to June. And now during all of this, I'm back on the same side doing this again. So how am I promoting myself? And these are tips and tricks that I've learned personally myself about building my own personal brand. I have a lot of peers and mentors that have helped guide me into building my own brand. If you've talked to some of them, you might know the enablement enthusiast. We've got the collaborator. We've got your favorite enabler. We've got tons of people every which way. If you've seen mine, Stephanie White, do you remember what mine that I'm doing now?
What
was my little tagline that I've been throwing out? I put it
badass enabler. That's
badass
your
enabler.
tagline lately.
Yep.
And I'm here for that, by the way.
And if you ask Whitney Seek, she will hear it as the enable ass. So it's whatever one you guys want to go with. Have fun with it. Make sure that your presence is known. Have the exciting type of personality that you're displaying on your resume into your guys' profiles as well too. So how do we go ahead and start building our personal brand throughout LinkedIn, across the entire networking community? We've already made this very easy for the Enablement Squad. Jump in. It's Slack based. Just introduce yourself. Talk about things. Ask questions while you're out and about. If you come up in an interview and you're like, oh shit, I don't know what receipts I need to bring in, hit it up. Ask Dave. Ask Brent. Ask any of us. We'll definitely help you out there. Ask, hey, somebody asked me what an ideal ramp time could look like. Post that. We've got answers. People can give you lots of different variations there. But when it comes down to these LinkedIn connections, how are you leveraging different opportunities to expose yourself? Stephanie White, prime example. She's even been recognized by this from Sales Enablement Collective, but her work on highlighting and improving those that are open to work throughout the community. And don't you laugh, Stephanie, because you know that you've done this. And
I'm laughing because Steph Sobrian gave us a silent clap. And for everyone on the call, it was actually Matt, Steph, and I that were in the final list. So that is a clap for the two of them as well. That is why I'm laughing, Matt.
Thank you.
Two is not a winner and 3 no one remembers.
Yes.
Hey.
We all won. We all won. We shared the award. It's cut up in 3 different pieces.
Yeah.
So find out different ways to do this. So Stephanie White is doing highlight videos for those of you that are open to work. If you have not been on that, message her right now and be like, when can I get on your LinkedIn page? I know tons of people that are watching that. Dave even said as a recruiter, he's going to the Stephanies, figuring out where and how he needs to be placing and looking for these different opportunities and people. Find an opportunity to get on Stephanie White's LinkedIn page. She told me, Matt, I need you to make me a video. I told her, yeah, I'll get it to you on Sunday. Didn't do it Sunday. I did it on Monday. And she's like, Matt, I really need this video. I was like, shit, if I really want myself out there, I've got to commit to this. I've got to go ahead and hit my own deadline. So I went a little above and beyond. I made sure that I made a video. It's a TikTok video, guys. I am a old millennial who does not know how to do TikTok. And my nephew's like, your transition sucked. Cool. Thank you. I appreciate that, but it's not for you. And he's like, well, I hope you get what you need with your 50 likes and 1,000 followers. And I was like, cool, thanks, bro. Appreciate you. The other thing, Tyrone Smith, he is another guy that is out there trying to connect with anybody looking for recognition, getting your brand out there, understanding. Dave and Brent both alluded to this, and I was so happy that they did. But Dave said, what is your elevator pitch? I personally, in all of my years of doing this, I have never been asked what my elevator pitch was until this year. And I think that is the most impactful moment to start selling yourself. During this quick little 7-minute podcast, Tyrone asked me, what is your elevator pitch? Give it to me. And I did. I threw it out there and I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. Like I actually had time to write it out, practice it, and give it and deliver. The nice thing about this video too is if I have somebody, a prospective hire or hiring manager, I can send this quick video and be like, hey, here's a quick blurb about myself. You want a quick 30 questions that is not just on my resume? Here's this. Go ahead and utilize this. Stephanie, anything you want to add on the LinkedIn connections posts?
Oh, I would love to. All I would just say is, it's funny for me. I'm looking at some of the people we have on the call right now, and we've got Steph and we've got Matt and Whitney's here and a number of other folks. And I think it's very easy for us to be passive in the community. It's very easy for us to look at other people and see some strong voices and strong individual brands and think, well, I'm not that, so I'm other. But the reality is in enablement, it's the flavor that each of us brings to a training session, not following the exact same playbook. It's how you're connecting with the people you're training. It's how you're interacting with your coworkers. That's your unique spice, right? That is how you give the twist on it. And that is part of the voice, that the more you can get that out there, have other people. Gail Schrack is on this call right now. We had never crossed paths physically until this week. And it was like the most wonderful human interaction instantly within 5 seconds. As soon as I saw her animated self, that I was just like, I don't know anything about your resume. I want to know more about what drives you because you have this fuel and the passion, and I want to get insight into that. That's the element of, I think, what makes enablers special, right? It's not, can you write a playbook? It's, how are you going to connect with the people that you're supporting so that it resonates with them, so that you understand them, so that you have empathy and those softer skills that don't come across in a PDF. And that's where LinkedIn's a beautiful thing, which is why we switched to video. Flat bullet points and even a quote doesn't deliver it the same way. Matt's was awesome because he's like, I'm a badass enabler. And I literally burst out laughing and had to mute it because my 6-year-old was in the room. But adding your own personality to it, for me, is what makes all the world a difference. I hired a bunch of program managers this year as well, and you can be darn sure I was looking them all up on LinkedIn. I was seeing, who are they interacting with? What are they adding? What's their personality and culture that they bring to the table? So don't be scared to show that, would be my advice as you think about LinkedIn.
Absolutely. We all have different flavors, and Stephanie hit on this right away. Like, imposter syndrome might be something that's really real. Guys, when I first started, Whitney Seek was my pedestal. And Whitney, I know I'm putting you on blast right now, but I told Whitney I'll never be anything equated to you. And many of you guys have met Whitney and have maybe felt that same way. But I will tell you that turning point for me was when Whitney was like, I need your advice for something. And I taught her something new. That is the pleasure of enablement. Going off. Sorry. That is the pleasure of enablement, is we are there to enable and uplift everyone. So just because we're loud and boisterous like myself, or very strategic and methodical like Stephanie and Whitney and a couple others, right? Be you. Find where you fit in. Be loud like me. Be calm, collective, and strategic like Stephanie. Like, there's so many different ways for all of us to get in there. So find your voice. Find your brand. The other part on LinkedIn that I really want to stress is be engaged, right? Stephanie mentioned being so passive. It's so easy for us to just sit down and just watch what's coming in and learning from that. But as the co-founder of the squad, I knew that it was also my duty to give to the community as much as it was for the community to give to me. I still expect the community to teach me things. And that should be you. You should be able to engage with the community and comment on their success or ask them questions in a public facing manner. Feel that confidence to be like, hey, I haven't done that before. How did you get started on something like that? Or, hey, I've only done it this way. Why didn't you choose that? Was there any other determining factors? I've problem solved with several people, either via LinkedIn or Slack or whatever community you're in, and ask them these questions, but engage in comments. The more you engage in comments, the more your open to work banner actually shows through LinkedIn as well. So do yourself the advertising algorithm that LinkedIn's going to go ahead and give you as well.
Mm-hmm. And what I just say, Matt, is we talked a little bit about the green dot. I actually scroll my network for the green dot and I filter by enablement when I'm looking for who of my recent followers or connections may need a little bit of support with a spotlight.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that on, I will not find you unless you message me.
True that.
That's just another example. When people are working, there are still roles out there, to Dave's point. They are harder to get. There's less of them and more applicants, but they're still out there. And when a recruiter reaches out to me and it's not something that I'm interested in, I immediately go to my network. I put those filters on my network and I see who is looking for a similar role that's the right fit. And I'll actually forward those job postings to people in my network.
I love that. Love it. I thought of this last night, but enablement idol, right? A lot of us find different people that we like to follow and really like aspire to be. I mentioned she's now off camera, but Whitney was my enablement idol. I had several of them that I wanted to be like and be and aspire to get to where they are at today. So what I'm encouraging you guys today, if you are open for work, and if you're not, who cares? Find your 4 influencers that you truly want to aspire to be, or that you've seen them do amazing work. Find them, document them, follow them. Make sure that you get alerts every time that they post. Find those different ways that you can interact with those posts and them, and maybe you can even create content that inspires you off of those posts. Okay. Secondly, 4 companies, the companies that you desire to work for, right? We have companies that we all really, really love. We love the brand. We love what they do. We want to work for them. I still have a list of, if they called today, I would go. That is on my list of 4. Create that list, find that list. Again, engage with those brands that are doing it. Whether, holy cow, this is a really cool new product update. Can't wait to use this. Or, oh, have you guys thought about something like this? This would be cool if you partnered here. Find ways to do it. Tag them in your posts. Find ways to engage with those companies at the same time. Engage with yourself. This is something that I was challenged when I was first getting out of my first enablement role. Dave remembers, I even told him, I was like, Dave, I'm on out of huddle. How do I get out? And he's like, you got to get out there. And podcasts. I was like, nobody is going to want to listen to a guy who has not done shit for the community. Why would they want to listen to him? I created my own. Was it successful? Yeah, I wouldn't give it that. Was it highly rated? Yeah, I wouldn't even give it that. But was it an opportunity that I took advantage of, shared it on my network, and learned from? Absolutely. I learned more about bridging the gap between enablement and other departments and being more of a Rosetta Stone for the companies than I have in my experiences in the field. Find ways to engage with different podcasts. Tech tool reviews. I engaged with a company that I've never even heard of until somebody introduced it to me. And now I'm doing a partnership with them. And we're going to talk about that little partnership later. Quick wins for your peers. This today is a quick win for my peers. This was a brainchild of something that I wanted to do to give out to everybody else. Now it's something that I can give back. It's something on, whether it's, hey, LinkedIn, did you guys check out this new certification? I saw somebody talking about that in here. New certification. Let's go check it out. Let's do this together. Engage in the community. Talk about the same thing. Find ways to keep your tools sharp. This is hilarious. How many of you guys have kids? Yeah? How many of you guys have started the deadly elf on the shelf today? God, this is my first year, and I will say welcome to hell. It's day one. I hate it. But how do we go ahead and use those creative, right? I made a LinkedIn post about Elf on the Shelf. What does Elf on the Shelf actually teach me? Other than to hate my child and resent him towards Christmas Day? I'm totally kidding. That's not what it is. But how do I be creative? How do I use my imagination? How am I telling the story of Renegade, the elf that bombarded into my house, to tell my child, to get him to believe into what I'm doing? I'm enabling my child, right? Spinning these stories to make sure that they're impactful and still relevant to your day-to-day enablement profession is a great way to keep your tool sharp. Find ways to do this. Stephanie, anything you want to add on that?
No, I just love it. I also think you're a little bit crazy for like leaning into the elf on the shelf. There was no planet where that was going to happen for me. I was like, no, I got enough to do. I'm not adding that to the daily list. But no, I love that. And I think that is, and Steph is actually one of the people who does hilarious posts from her own life. Steph has multiple children. I don't know how she does it sometimes and has such a wicked sense of humor about it. But yeah, work and life can cross-pollinate on LinkedIn. Right? Do in a way that's comfortable for you and your family, but there's often lessons we can take from our personal life and share in our professional personas. And that is really valuable. I shared one that had an incredible amount of impressions really quick in July. Stupidest thing. I had a rough day. So what I do? I ate my feelings. I ordered Chinese food. I ate way too much and then I felt bad about it. So I was like, I'm going to go for a 5-mile run in July in Southern Ontario, where it was really, really hot. Was that setting myself up for success? Absolutely not. So of course, the moral of that story was, what are you doing today to set yourself up for success tomorrow? And what are you doing to self-sabotage? Learn from that. Think the more you can look at your personal life, keep your skills sharp, keep thinking about it, and share those stories. Laugh at yourself, be human. You don't need to be perfect.
I would definitely say the moral of that story, the bigger moral is do not do a 5-mile run, but that's totally other than me. All right, we are running out of time. I apologize. This has been so exciting. I want to make sure that we're going to skip the round robin part, but happy to connect in the pitch room after all of this is done. Stephanie Z, you want to take it away?
Absolutely. So I am Stephanie Zorabian, and I'm kind of Armenian. They've adopted me. It's been great, but my gorgeous husband's Armenian, and so I get a really cool last name and a silly first name. But I joined Cisco 11 months ago, but this time last year, I was actually in the job hunting phase. I was hunting voraciously for a role. I wasn't part of layoffs, but I left a role. I kind of laid myself off because I left a role that was really toxic for me. And I didn't know you could do that, but I did it. And it was a little scary. And I didn't even know where to start. I have a very, very narrow set of skills. And I think there's about 5 people on here that I reached out to chat about it. But I really used my time when I was job hunting to watch all the seasons of Wicked Tuna and its spinoffs. And do a little bit of reading and keeping up. I would join about 3 to 4 webinars a day on tools in different industries. But I'm not a machine. You know, I also tried to make green eyeshadow work for me. So as you're in this phase, please try and do something for yourself. I wouldn't suggest green eyeshadow for anybody, but I think that maybe, I don't know, there's like a Norwegian influencer that I follow that, or Swedish or something, that does green eyeshadow, and I want to be her when I grow up. But one thing that I like to do is I kind of like looking for jobs. I like seeing what's out there. I'm actually really happy at Cisco. I kind of want to be buried in the backyard here, but I really like looking at different jobs and seeing what's going on. So I just want to mention the different places, the job posting site and the enablement squad, you know, hashtag jobs in the chats. And then every Monday morning on LinkedIn, most of the time, I post different jobs that I find really just on LinkedIn. And I think it's really important to have the hiring manager or the recruiter tagged, because that's how you reach out to people. It's good to know that there's a job, but sending your resume out into the world is hard by itself. But I do want to say something about the enablement squad, because exactly, I remember it was November 7th that I think it was, but somebody had a question about enabling sellers within the flow of work and a specific tool I use. That doesn't sponsor me, so I won't mention the name. But somebody, I believe it was Whitney Seek, pointed at me in the chat and said, Stephanie Zorabian does this. And that person is actually my current senior director now at Cisco. And I remember November 7th was the big day that I had my first interview with him. He, we ended the chat saying like, wow, people just get it. And I can't believe that that came from an enablement, somebody asking a question in an enablement Slack channel. So one thing I would highly recommend is, of course, just putting yourself out there. It's hard to post every day. It's hard to get 2 likes and 2 comments. But my network has really become my net worth. And that is so cheesy. And I'm sorry I said that to you today, but it's really just become such an incredible net worth. I remember when I was unemployed, I connected with people in different areas of the company at lots of different levels and at lots of different sizes of companies. And I think that sometimes you think, oh, they're just an individual contributor. They probably won't know about open roles. No, they probably do. And so don't be scared to meet with somebody who's brand new in their role at their company, or somebody who's not a VP or a director level, and really, really spread out wide to meet different people. I feel like there's already been so much said about different things, but one thing I do want to notice is can you move to the next slide, Matt?
Yep.
One thing I have noticed is a lot of skills, and I know that Dave talked a lot about this, but I think it's really interesting because even in Cisco, we have people who pull out their 20-year card all the time. Like, I've been at Cisco for 20 years. I didn't know people did that. I didn't know that people stayed in jobs for 20 years, but people do. And it turns out that we have quite a big gap in our enablement professionals. And from what I'm seeing in the industry and from companies that are really innovating. But it's interesting to know that everybody needs onboarding programs. So maybe if you're unemployed, think if you could take the guardrails off and you could do any onboarding program you wanted, what would your onboarding program look like? And you can take that to different companies. Analytical skills. I don't like data. I don't like numbers. But the single most valuable people on my entire team are the guys, or it's a team of individuals, are the individuals who can look at data, who can export it into a stupid Tableau board, and who can show it to people and who can make sense of it. So really having those analytical skills to dig deep, do root causes, and make sure that training and enablement's the answer. And process documentation. How many people know what the seller workflow looks like? I can't say that I do. I know it for one little piece of something at Cisco after a full year, but really being able to look at full pictures and being able to look across the tech stack as they're executing and looking across all these soft skills. And then I thought it was interesting to see different platforms. A lot of people had different names. Of course, we have the CRM. There's a few different CRMs. There's lots of different LMSs, but a new one that's coming up that's kind of my neck of the woods. And this is not, I promise this was listed. I have a check thing. It's very scientific that I have every time I see a different platform or a different skill. I always put a check next to it in this little notes thing I have. But digital adoption and being able to help sellers as our tech stacks grow, use their tech stack. I promise I didn't make that up. That was really on there. But looking into these different platforms, a lot of them are very agnostic. So if you use Salesforce, you could probably use HubSpot. If you use one LMS, you could probably use the other. And the same with digital adoption platforms. Just getting these skills, going to a few of these webinars and seeing what's up with these companies so that you can go into interviews very informed about the different tools and techniques to engage and enable our sellers. But I just want to say I've benefited from just about everybody on this call. I see names like Tanique. I see, of course, the Stephs. I see Whitney. Again, my hero. Whitney, how does it feel to be like everyone's hero? Put that in the chat. But I see so many people that I follow on a daily basis. And so if you don't feel like you can post every day, just start commenting on people that you're interested in following. Start engaging and having conversations. And then again, you might have a top 4 company, but don't rule out other companies. Something you've never heard of before, something that's in a completely different industry. It could be a great fit. I didn't know Cisco was still a thing. I thought it died with Zoom. I can say that. They don't care. Cisco's huge. So I didn't know, and I didn't know that I would absolutely love my role, and hopefully I'm there for a long time. But don't count anything out, and please don't count yourself out of roles that you think might be too much for you. So that's all I know we're at time, so I'm going to pass the ball back to Matt, but please connect with me on LinkedIn. Please feel free to send messages and just especially in the chat and be part of the community.
I love that. Thank you so much, Stephanie Zarabian. Did I do it? Perfect. Okay,
You
cool.
got it.
That's like the first time I've done that and successfully succeeded there. So I'm super happy. All right, quick community tip. For those of you that have not downloaded the Teal Chrome extension while you guys are navigating through your jobs, I encourage you guys to do this today. The Teal Chrome extension is a great little Chrome extension to track every single job that you are currently looking at. It will tell you what you've applied for. It will give you the templates on how to sign up and what to send to somebody through an email as a follow-up, finding different pay ranges, what are their hiring dates, all of that stuff. I will go ahead and send a link to a video that's going to highlight this, but Teal has been an amazing thing for me. And when I talked earlier about like a partnership, Teal and I and the squad are working on ways to go ahead and incorporate enablers together to use Teal more effectively. So we're finding different ways to do this. Stay tuned for more of this. I have a lot more to share on this, so stay tuned on that. And with that, I know we are at time. Again, this session, hopefully it was helpful for you. If it wasn't, I am so sorry. At least I hope you got a couple of laughs and at least got to connect and see some familiar faces. But with the squad, we're always making sure that we're here to engage, educate, and empower. And again, if you need any career search or career advice, Dave Littman from Enablement is here to help you. If you need some resume advice and how to add receipts and making sure where to put those with some great formatting, Brent is your guy. Branding, if you need to be spotlighted and make sure that you can get out in the community, hit up Stephanie White. And Stephanie Zarabian is posting those job listings every single Monday, every single week. And if you're having trouble coming up with some creative ideas to post on LinkedIn, hit me up. Happy to go ahead and challenge your thinking. Love to throw different ideas at you. Could be an elf on the shelf, whole classic enablement thing that you want to do. I don't care. We'll find something for you guys to go ahead and post about. So with that, I will share the recordings later. I appreciate you guys all being part of the squad. If you're not, shame on you. Let's get connected. Let's join the squad. If you are, thank you so much for making the squad what it is today. Real chat soon, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
That was amazing. Thank you both. Thank you. Thank you.
This is where we wait for everybody else to drop off.
Yeah, no.
That was fun.
Yeah, it was good. Thank you so much for your insights, Dave. I know that you've been very busy across the community too and helping out. So I appreciate you giving me the time or giving us the time.
No, I love this community. It's been great to watch it grow and flourish and add value to the community. So I